I started to fall.
What is it? Swallow?
Crying.
What's happening, everybody? I'm your boy, Otis McDoodle-Woodle, and I'm coming at you with another session breakdown. Otis McMusic has been used in thousands of videos on the internet that became very popular because of its use in a viral series called Content Cop, made by none other than iDubbbz. Thank you so much for using this song in your video. This song has gotten 2 million plus plays on Spotify, and I can't even tell you how many millions of views on YouTube. I wanted to break it down and show you the original recording session and all the different parts that make this into the song that you guys know. Like a lot of my tracks, this one started by me creating an original sample. Now, I've gone on Reddit where people have talked about my music. People think it's like a Jackson 5 sample or some sort of old soul record from the 70s, but the truth is I make all this stuff on my own just for the purpose of bringing it into, in this case, Serato sample. If you're not familiar with sampling, I highly recommend it. I wanted to show you the original sample. Now this one started with me playing the acoustic guitar and came up with a melody. I tracked the lead vocal and then I came up with some background vocals and then just saturated it, made it sound like an old funky record. And this is what that sounds like.
1, 2, 3. I started to fall.
What is it? Swallow?
Crying. You got me swallowed, baby.
Oh yeah,
I'm
there it
trying
is.
for your love. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I started to follow, baby. I'm crying.
See, I can't even remember the words to my own song.
I'm trying for your love.
Yeah. I randomly sliced it up and then found a cool sequence, and that sequence was this. And that's it. That's the whole track, or that's the whole sample part of the track. Now, since I was like 11 or 12 years old, I was really fascinated with the use of variable speeds on tape machines. One of the earliest uses of vari-speed can be heard on some of the very first multi-track recorded songs by Les Paul, the person who invented multi-track recording. He and his wife Mary would make these really wild jazz recordings and taking standards of the time and record at different speeds. And so maybe the guitar solo was recorded at a slower speed, but when you bring it up to the actual speed, it
ends up sounding
kind of like the Chipmunks or something like that, but on the guitar. The Beatles would also do this. You can hear this on a song like Strawberry Fields Forever. If you go to the 1 minute mark of that song, you hear one take that was done in one key and at one particular tempo, transition into a new take that was done in a different key and at a faster tempo. But what George Martin did was slow the tape down so they matched keys, and fortunately the tempos were very cohesive. Go check it out. So with this song, I brought it into Serato sample and I found the sequence, and then I started pitching it up. 8 semitones. And that's how you hear it on the track. Let's go over here to Pro Tools and show you the original session, which I have not opened in probably 8 years. And here is that sample. Let's check it out. Then you start laying down some drums. At least that's how I like to do it. I like to have something that I'm playing along with, because to me, making music is all about interacting with other musicians. This is one way in which I can do that, starting with a sample. So when you get the sample and the drums together, it sounds something like this. These were all programmed. Mostly played in, like kick and snare, I played in, and then I programmed the hi-hat on its own. None of this was quantized because I just wanted it to feel as human as possible. So that's a programmed kick, snare, hi-hat, and then I had a clave that I played and a shaker. The shaker, like that, and a clave. Here. Check it. Check. It's like almost like a, it's not a 2-3 clave or a 3-2 clave. It's like a 1-2. Kind of funky. All right. And then the next thing I laid down was the bass. And this really establishes where we are at harmonically. And when I listen to this, I'm always like kind of blown away. Like, what was I thinking? Because when you take the bass out, you could hear the root of the chord being boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? But with the bass, it's so I'm using what could have been the root as kind of more like a passing tone. Kind of funky. And then I laid down piano. Let's solo that piano for a second. Sounds like there's 4 notes in there. 8th notes. Really simple. But then you also get my signature of that time, which was Animoog. Let me show you Animoog real quick. Animoog is an application made for iOS, so iPads. You can actually have it on the iPhone as well. It's a synthesizer made by the company Moog, you know, who made like the Mini Moog, the Moog Voyager, all those classic analog synths of the 60s and 70s. And this thing is kind of based on all the synths that they made. There's a really cool preset in here that I doctored and kind of messed around with. You have your like ribbon strip basically, but then I actually programmed the scales and everything I wanted in here, which in this case, there's only 3 notes. I picked C sharp, F sharp, and G sharp, and I adjusted the delay to be the same tempo as my track, which is 92 beats per minute. And then I would literally just put my hands on it and go like, or like that. And when you hear it along with the rest of the track, it's like this. Like that. And then there was only one other part to it. I took the Novation bass station, which is the same synth I used for the bass on here, and I programmed an arpeggiator. And that arpeggiator was originally like a 16th note step sequence. And then what I did is I messed around with the randomness and probability that you can do on that synth and just came up with this funky little arpeggio. It's not even an arpeggio, it's more like a melody. Boop, boop. But I was holding down these chords. Like that, and it just randomly is going through it. But because of the simplicity and because there's not a lot to it, it allows for the mixing process to make everything as big and as fat as possible. Now, there's one more thing. You might be saying to yourself right now, this does not sound like Otis McMusic on Content Cop. And the reason that is because I went even further with the variable speed technique and messed around with taking all of this music finished, printing it to its own new 2-track right here. Let me show you. You see this green guy? And I literally just took the file and I moved it this way. So I shortened it, which then sped up the track and it pitched it up. And that just sounded cooler to me. It's just a little faster and a little bit higher in pitch. Pretty cool, huh? Well, of course, you do have the intro.
What we do here is go back.
Which, by the way, that's me as well. I just recorded my voice and then used Barry's speed and lowered the pitch. And then I pitched it up. Where is it? McDonald. And I go, Otis McMusic. And I made it sound like a female voice, maybe. I don't know. I was just messing around. I wanted it to sound, cool and hip, like I had just sampled from a bunch of different old records and made this new thing. But the reality is I couldn't do that because I was making copyright-free tracks for you guys to use in YouTube, and so I had to just figure out a way to do this on my own. And that really kind of birthed this whole thing that I do all the time now as Otis McDonald. If you use my music in your videos, thank you. Thank you so much. I could not be doing this without you. So, guys, if you like this content, please hit the like button, click subscribe. I've got so much music that I'm gonna put out there. Thank you so much for taking the time to check this out. One more thing. If you like this feeling, if you got a little joy out of watching this, take that feeling and go do something good with it. That's all I gotta say. I'm your boy, Otis McDonald. Thank you for watching. Peace.
What we do here is go back.
Loud.